This is my hobby, the greatest hobby. Hobbyist here, we are back at it again with our Talisman character exploration guide for the dungeon expansion. Previous character which we covered was the Swashbuckler, and we went over how his character build allows him to take extra turns that might prove advantageous to him. But we are on the final two characters of the dungeon expansion. So let's go ahead and get on to this next character. The next character that we are going to be covering. He is a merciless and highly skilled combatant who lives only to prove that he is the mightiest fighter in the world. This is the Gladiator. So let's go ahead and get into the Gladiator with his character card. So the Gladiator has a strength of 4, making him the physically strongest character in the dungeon expansion, and a craft of 2. Way to be able to tell he is a part of the dungeon expansion. Seeing that black logo there? That is an archway that indicates that any characters, any cards, and that sort of thing that bear that logo are a part of the dungeon expansion. So if you're not particularly interested with this expansion, being able to find that logo is the best way to make it easier when it comes to separation. So let us continue forward with the next parts of the Gladiator. He is an evil character who starts in the tavern. In fact, I want to say that he is one of the only characters who, in the same expansion, shares the same starting location, because the Swashbuckler also starts inside the tavern with the Gladiator. So that is definitely something of an interesting note. He does got 1 fate, and he's got 5 lives, which honestly shows that he's a tougher character, and he's got 3 character abilities, which I'm going to get into now. So the first ability is you begin the game with 1 helmet from the purchase deck. So already out of the gate, you're well equipped with a fairly good set of armor here. Not the best armor in the world, as you can see the level of chance that you actually have of this thing protecting you. But it's definitely a formidable start in comparison to most of the other characters, because aside from the knight, no other character really has any protection when it comes to physical battle. So that is most definitely a plus, and it especially comes in handy with the second character ability that the Gladiator has, which is whenever you use armor and roll 1 die to prevent the loss of life, you may add 1 to the score. So being able to add 1 to the score greatly increases your chances of being able to essentially protect yourself from most everything else. The Gladiator is probably the most battle-ready character inside of this expansion period. Then, when you start to finally get to this third character ability, honestly, he is probably one of the biggest threats to this expansion in general. And it's quite similar to the Warlord and the Magus, in which whenever you acquire a follower, they become trained to fight with you during battle. You may use all, none, or some of your followers to fight with you in any battle of your choice. Each follower used in this manner adds 1 to your strength during battle. If the character defeats you in battle, you may kill 1 of your followers that fought with you in addition to his normal reward. Now, when it comes to the Gladiator in specific, unlike the Magus, the ability to essentially accumulate strength through your followers, much like the Warlord does, and much like the Magus does in the Sacred Pool expansion when it comes to craft. Honestly, with the way that the expansions lay themselves out, and in my personal experience, I found it way easier to find followers and to boost strength with the Gladiator than I have with the Magus in finding followers for Psychic Combat. Because just for my personal preference, I'm more of a strength-based character. Honestly, the Gladiator is probably my go-to, because he is the only character that I played with in Talisman that has successfully been able to beat the Lord of Darkness and teleport straight to the Crown of Command. Because once you start finding followers like the Warhorse, who can not only combine your strength and craft, totaling towards a attack of 6, but you're adding 1 strength on top of that because the Warhorse is a follower. So you're adding 3 strength on top of that in just 1 follower. Any followers that add strength, there's a dungeon tunneler inside of the dungeon to where he will add 2 to your strength or craft when you are inside of the dungeon. It will add 1 strength or 1 craft inside of just the regular game, outside of the dungeon region. And being able to get your hands on him, again, you're adding 2 to 3 more because you are training him on top of the already strength that you possess. So, if you are able to find these followers who are able to add strength already on their own, and you train them even more to add even more strength, then you find the Warhorse, and then you go into the Highlands, or especially with the city expansion, your whole goal with the Gladiator is to essentially be on a recruiting mission, looking in the various expansions, finding as many followers as you possibly can, finding all the weapons that boost your strength inside the city expansion. And then you can start accumulating attack scores of 30 or higher. Honestly, I have literally gone from spawning the Gladiator and shooting straight up the totem pole with the amount of followers that I was able to find, just because even in late game, when characters have been dying and you've respawned and you find the followers and you pick them up, it becomes a blessing to be able to use them as additional strength. But unlike the Warlord, you keep whatever follower abilities that they already possessed. So you're not getting rid of it only for the sole purpose of being able to add strength to yourself. So I definitely do believe that the Gladiator is one of the best characters in Talisman, but is also the best strength character inside the dungeon expansion. There's not going to be much that stands in his way other than the fact that he is solely relied on strength. So any spirits, as there's an equal number of spirits to very strong strength-based enemies inside of the dungeon, is where you're going to find problems with the Gladiator. And the fact that the Gladiator only has 1 fate makes it a problem for things like the Harbinger, the Reaper, and the Werewolf. So that's definitely something that you are sacrificing in exchange for being able to snowball and accumulate strength and have very high attack potency with the Gladiator. But overall, this encompasses the Gladiator. And I will see you guys in the next one.